We're live.
Hey guys, we are back live. So excited to join everyone tonight. We got a lot to talk about, Pat. It's great to do another live show.
Yeah, always good. I think this might be a good reoccurring kind of live weekly report. So we don't, drag it out till Tuesday, Wednesday. Europa League, Champions League goes on. Maybe other news catches fire, like we're going to talk to just drop an early hint in the Reina for Halter drama more. But perfect time, right, to just have the live streams and more interactions with you all.
Yeah, it's a lot going on right now too. I don't know if everyone's tuned in, but yeah, this today so much more drama came out. Obviously, the investigation closed between the Ranas and Berhalters, so we got to talk about that. Really curious to hear your guys' perspective on it. So comment down below what you're thinking. We also had some performances over the weekend, right, Pat? Some goals, some assists, some crucial goals, and good results.
So it's not just a drama podcast, Austin, or a
I know.
YouTube channel.
I know. It seems like every podcaster or, every storyline with USMNT this year is full of that drama. But we'll try to spare that a little bit today. We'll get that out of the way early.
Exactly. But I think to your point, right, and not to just jump into the topic, but there's struggling players in Europe, and then there's the seasons are winding down, and just with all this other news to come out, it just hasn't been the most ideal 2023, turning over a new leaf, right? It was a decent World Cup campaign, and now kind of looking on to the horizon, hosting and everything. And now it's been this really strange 3 months, Austin. It just, everything hasn't been very good. It's been just dramatic. It's been troubled performances, or maybe some good things, and injuries come along. Players looking to get out of their current club situation. So again, I don't want to harp on negative, but I'm hoping, we just have to kind of fight through, right, all this, and we see some light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Because it's been a dark winter.
Yeah, and you could even add into the list, right? Managers getting fired, club and national team. Also talking about player loans maybe not going exactly the way we were hoping for. So yeah, it's been a weird start to the post World Cup cycle, I would say. And yeah, it's this week we did have some good storylines, so I guess we shouldn't harp too much on the bad storylines. But
right.
Yeah, it's a weird time to be a U.S. soccer fan. Like I was telling someone at work today, like this is probably, I don't know if you guys agree, but to me it feels like the lowest point since Cuba. And it's not necessarily, again, all the stuff on the field; it's also the stuff off the field. And I thought, again, 4 years removed from that, back after we went back to the World Cup, things would be looking up, Pat, and we'd feel good about where we're, where our players are at right now in their club careers, where our players are at and doing, how our team is performing at the national team, how our structure is within U.S. soccer. But unfortunately, a lot of that's not exactly where we're hoping for it to be. And I guess we should jump right in, Pat, right?
Let's jump in. And, as we get folks joining in, trickling in, and we can always circle back around to the drama. There's always more to dissect and talk about, but let's definitely jump into it.
Yeah, so we want to start off today, obviously, with the whole, Reina Berhalter drama. So if you guys didn't see, again, the independent investigation that U.S. Soccer did was finally released today, and the investigation, not to hold off on the finality of it, basically found that Greg Berhalter, there was no I guess further repercussions or he was kind of exonerated from any further action being taken against him. And basically US Soccer also announced that he is still in the running for the manager position, depending on, what decision they make. So obviously that's, also some news to unpack there. But what we did find out was a lot more details about the extent that the Reinas went to kind of get Greg removed from his position. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to unpack in this investigation, right? It was a 40-page report or so. We didn't really read all of it. We obviously, probably should, but we encourage you guys to as well, right? And we're going to, use the cliff notes for today. But obviously the big thing, right, to start it off was that, again, some threats were kind of made, not threats, but just some bad comments, I would say, or trying to disparage Greg from both the Rainers. And obviously, again, Claudia had some texts to Brian McBride and also Ernie Stewart about the state of the program. So I have the McBride one up here. And this was actually, I'm sorry, this is Danielle's comment to an unnamed soccer employee. Once this tournament is over, I can make one phone call and give one interview, and his cool sneakers and bounce passes will be gone. So that's in reference to
comment.
Greg Berhalter. Yeah.
That's like a perfect Twitter meme, funny, but when you actually think about that conversation or text happening and the intent behind it, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's not great, and I think you said it off camera. It kind of paints us in a whole, keeping up with the Kardashians light here with U.S. soccer.
Yeah.
It's
Keeping
not
up with the USMNT, Austin.
yeah, it's not the vibe we're looking for. And yeah, just to think that and again, I'm kind of bouncing all over the place, but it was made clear in this interview or in this investigation, I'm sorry, that Claudio and Danielle declined to be interviewed, which was really disappointing for them to take these actions and make these accusations, and not even they declined to be interviewed, right? So why would you go through all this length if you weren't confident enough to testify about what was going on in the past and involvement with it? It just seems so not baseless, because the thing did happen, and that's what makes this whole thing slippery, right? Is that there was something bad that Greg Berhalter did in the past, but to not even stand up and give your take on it and ascertain.
Awesome. What's interesting is what you said at the beginning, and it almost felt like when this first came out, like, oh, we're going to find out more to maybe Berhalter, like what else has kind of been hidden. And it is full force on the arena, like completely Berhalter exonerated. I think this, in a way, kind of helps clear him, right? It's just off his shoulders a little bit more. It was an isolated incident. I don't have the full quotation up, right? But abbreviated, he sought counseling after. I think there was a little bit more to like his wife actually hitting him in the face and then him pushing her down and kicking her once or twice. I think it was twice actually. And then like a bystander got in the way and tackled him to the ground, but completely isolated. And again, exactly what he said. He went to counseling. He apologized profusely. Right? They had a 7-8 month, break off, right, to step away from the relationship, and then here we are 20, 30 something years later. So I just wanted to point that out. And again, I'm not defending Berhalter in any way. I just think, honestly, him and the Raiders should be completely gone from the program. I don't know many people who wouldn't agree with that, but it just, I'm looking at it from him too and his family, kids, and just how betrayed I might feel that, you thought you were close with these people or this family, right? And you've gone through things together. They know about your relationship right from the beginning. And then to have this thrown at you and kind of the borderline blackmail and I don't know, just spitefulness of it all. It's just sad. It's beyond repair. I don't think they'll ever be speaking to each other again.
Yeah, and you saw a lot of consistency in Greg and Rosalind's story, but you didn't see a lot of consistency in Danielle and even Claudio's story, right? So Danielle told people that she was there and present for the incident. It turns out that she was actually not present for the incident. It was pretty clear from other people's testimonies in this whole investigation. I think there was even some other people that were there that night that could testify where she was, and she was actually, in fact, inside when it happened. She was
Greg Berhalter's wife ran to her, right, or like confided in her after the fact, right?
Exactly, yeah, and she wasn't truthful about that, and then finally was truthful about it later on in this process. So yeah, I think again, it just goes to your point, Pat, that it really doesn't reflect well on the character of Claudio and Danielle. I think, this whole investigation does kind of show well for the Berhalters and shows that at the very least, something happened and they weren't hiding from that incident, right? And it sounds like, again, the right steps were made to kind of repair those damages and make amends for that incident.
Right. And Austin, what do you think though from Gio's perspective? And I guess from my sense too is, I mentioned how sad it is for the Berhalter-Rainer relationship, but for Gio, I mean,
Yeah.
you almost think like, I don't want to speculate, but these your parents who are, this is pretty horrible behavior, right? I mean, this is who he's grown up with, and maybe it's that competitive spirit, not seeing him play, but like the attitude, right? Those reports that there were however many, and I know we talked about off camera, how many parents were celebrating in the World Cup, all the families, and then the Berhalters, I guess, were in the corner cursing and this and that, and I don't know
Yeah.
exactly what was said, but just that negative attitude mindset, and then probably after games or not getting playing times, driving more negativity to Gio. I'm sure those conversations happened after, right, with Claudio and Danielle and him, and just in the room, and I'm sure that didn't help. So you
Yeah.
almost feel bad in a way from the beginning that Gio's kind of just been entangled in this, and also maybe upbringing. And again, I hate to just speak on somebody else's family. I don't know how he was raised or their parenting, right? I do not want to, but with all this news coming out, you have to kind of wonder, right?
Right. And something else that was in the investigation as well, was that, again, Claudio Reyna was, contacting the Federation over Gio's playing time as early as 2016, which is crazy to think about, right? Gio was born in 2002, so that's when he was a 14-year-old, the youth national teams. And yeah, they even went as far, some of the people that were a part of that, to call him a bully, and say that his you know reach outs were mean in nature. So I think, yeah, this has been a problem throughout Gio's life, and it's something he's grown up with. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to really understand his perspective in all this. I think, obviously there's a sense of loyalty to his family to some regard, right? In this whole situation. Obviously, again, he owned up to his actions at the World Cup. That kind of started this whole messy saga, along with Greg Berhalter's conversation with him. So I really don't know, Pat. We haven't heard from him, in relation to the family drama, right? It's only been about the World Cup performance and the way he acted there. So
Right.
we really don't know. It's hard to try and guess. I mean, you can make an assumption based, again, on his closeness with his family, but I don't think that's fair to him in this moment, because these are definitely different situations. And I don't know if necessarily it warrants him to come out and say something about it, right? Like, this is a pretty tough position for him, right? It's, not many people are siding with the Reynas right now. Maybe on Claudio's comment about Berhalter and the clown show,
Yeah.
the
That
U.S.
was the
soccer.
only thing I saw so far on initial
But
social media. Like everyone's like, I hate how he's partially right, but also he's horrible in the way he
yeah,
looks at it. So yeah, I don't know, Austin. I think just to like
tough. Not a
conclude
good situation.
my thoughts on this is, yeah, if I'm looking at it from maybe more optimism, just to the story, hopefully by June, July, August, right? We'll be in the mix of some other tournaments, competitions. Maybe this is kind of brushed under more and just chatter on Twitter every now and then. And Gio can kind of finish out the season here, get healthy, really focus on getting back his starting role with Dortmund
Yeah.
and get some performances in. I don't think he's going to be exiled for the USMNT. I think he'll be back. Hopefully, he can just cancel out this noise. Honestly, just kind of take a break, right, from his parents in that situation. Just say, hey, I'm in Germany. Let me do my thing. His celebrations, right? I don't want to hear any of that. Let me just focus on my game. And I mean, I don't know. I'm still pulling for the guy. I'm still rooting for him. And I think hopefully this is water under the bridge in the next 6, 7 months.
Yeah, I really just think this calls for, again, some leadership from the U.S. Soccer Federation. Like, I can't imagine bringing Berhalter back in now. And again, just without having a
No.
technical director in place, a GM, like, we really need these positions filled. And I
Yeah.
understand that, again, we're early on in this next World Cup cycle. It's our most important cycle. I get that, but we need some freaking leadership, man. There's no
It's
leadership.
almost like Austin, the main guy, the director, the coach, right? Went somewhere, I don't know, bathroom break off the field, and all the parents are bickering at a little league game whose players are going to start on the pitch.
Yeah.
Or you saw like that. That's literally what it reminds me of. Just
Yeah.
just kids screaming at a youth soccer tournament, and parents screaming, and nobody taking charge.
Yeah, it's really sad. Like, and that's why I say it's the second lowest point we've had, I feel like, in our history, especially recently. I just, it seems like we're so lost right now. We have no direction. And that's just frustrating, right? We were in the same spot 4 years ago. And I think we handled that even better, that situation better than we're handling this one now. So I don't
I
know, Pat.
know.
I
I
guess
know.
we'll keep everyone updated. We'll keep an eye on anything else as it comes out. We'll see how Gio
Right.
plays this weekend. Hopefully, he does get on the pitch, right, for Dortmund. And
That's right. And guys, we're going live, and then even after, right? This will be posted after as well. Drop in the comments. We'll interact with you all, and I'm sure maybe even more news will come out. So we can always circle back on this.
yeah. So to move on to some better news, we're going to talk about Haji Wright and his return from injury. So Haji Wright was actually back for his second game this weekend for Antalyaspor, and this was actually his first start since coming back from injury. So played, I think, only 9 minutes in his true first game back. Has been out since January 7th. So you kind of forget about him, right? He
Oh
had
yeah,
pretty successful World Cup, right? A great goal.
pretty long time on the sidelines, Austin.
Yeah, and after that, like that was exactly what I was gonna say. Is we didn't really hear from him, and obviously with that injury, we weren't gonna hear from him. But great to have him back on the pitch. Played a really big role in Talyaspor's 4-0 win this weekend. Actually had 2 goals and an assist in the game. His first goal was off a nice header that was open, to him in the box. Really good patience. Just waited for the ball to come to him, put it right past the keeper, and that was, I believe, their third goal in the day. Followed it up with, a second goal. Again, was just a nice ball that fell to him, hammered it in off a rebound. Basically, there was like a shot that went off before. And it was another good finish, a poacher's goal, right? And then also had an assist in this game. I thought the assist was probably his best play of the day. When you're talking about the goals that he had in the assist. But basically took the ball into the box, had some nice moves to get around, a defender. Basically did a fake, or not a fake shot, but kind of crossed the ball up on a defender. Think of it basketball style, but soccer. And got open, crossed the ball to a teammate, and scored. And it was an assist for Haji. So
Nice.
again, in watching some of the highlights of this game, I really liked what I saw from him physically. I think that's kind of the biggest knock we've had against him. In just his time, right, as a senior professional player, whether it was at Schalke, whether it was coming up again at Sonderjurski. This was a great game from him in terms of his hold up play, just not being afraid to get physical with people. There's a situation where he was in the box with a defender, went shoulder to shoulder with them, ended up winning the ball. And I believe even won a penalty after that. It was kind of unclear to see from the video, but nonetheless, a good performance from Haji Wright. Definitely someone to keep our eye on this spring.
And even after that long spell away from injury, to have you got to be feeling yourself. You got to be confident if you're doing that fake shot kind of crossover, right, left to right in the ball. Like you said, the basketball term. I mean, that's having the confidence to do that, and then even those elements of the assist. We know he can be that poacher and score, but again, you're really feeling it, right? You got that secret sauce when you're getting goals, you're getting assists, you're stat padding in other areas as well, and just really improving. He's had a fantastic time in Turkey, and I almost equate it to some of our players taking that different path into Scotland and Turkey, kind of in those levels of where you can really thrive, right? And have a lot of opportunity, maybe some potential European competitions in the mix, and then make that next move up, because I think he's ready to kind of doesn't have to be a large move, right? We talked about, but I think he's ready after this summer to move on.
Yeah, I would agree. I think so far this year he has, I want to say 12 goals. I should have had it written down here. But, last year he had, about the same. I think he finished with 13 or 14. So, I think he's to that point where, he's shown well in the Turkish Superliga. Obviously, Antalyaspor aren't as good of a team this year. Or they're not as high in the table. Last year they were in the top 5, I want to say.
Right. They're not having the best.
High up. Yeah, and this year they're more mid-table. But he's got 12 goals on the year so far, had 14 last year, has played a total of actually 50 games for them. So he scored 26 goals in 50 games. I think that's a really good tally for 2 years. Obviously, still has more games to play this year, and yeah, just again, he proved it right when he went to Denmark. Was able to get this opportunity here. I really think he's ready for the next level. He's still only 24. Will actually turn 25 later this month. So yeah, he still has some time to mature, grow his game a little bit. I don't know if we'll see him make a move to a top 5 league. I know some some English clubs were interested in him in the winter window, right? Crystal Palace was a team that showed some interest. I don't know if that's the best move for him, but I think
Yeah, I don't know. I would almost be intrigued to see him more outside of the Premier. I know the money is in the Premier League in England.
mhm.
I would be intrigued to see him like you said. Maybe it's not a, or maybe it is like a Serie A or a Bundesliga, or maybe it's one of those Belgium Eredivisie or kind of that tier. I think
Yeah.
for a top team, I think that would be intriguing.
The only I agree with you, Pat, and I think the reason why I agree with you is because I think you've seen from him that he likes to go to these places where maybe the spotlight's not necessarily on him, right? At Schalke, some of those loan deals he had where he was a known commodity and someone that was, a big time prospect that people were looking at. I think it kind of played with him a little bit mentally. I don't want to necessarily speak for him on that, but that's just from my perspective. So I feel like again, going to a culture like England could be a bit of a culture shock from where he's been, right? When you think about Denmark and kind of the environments he was playing in there. Obviously, Turkey's a
Right.
little bit different, but definitely not as like in the in the limelight probably there as he would be in any Premier League club. So yeah, I think if he can find a team that values him, sees how to best utilize him, and really gives him that confidence, that's the best move for him. I think confidence is super key for Haji.
Completely agree. And I think with that player next to talk about, super high on confidence, Austin.
Yeah, honestly.
And that's our boy, the Scottish Yankee, who is arguably, I don't even know arguably anymore, the best defender in Scotland right now. I mean, he's doing awesome CCV.
Yeah. Good
And
year.
just, yeah, what a year, right? And what a time he's just had at the at Celtic. What is it called? Paradise, right? They call it Paradise.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, he this past weekend booked a place the semifinals with Celtic. He scored the third and final goal over Hearts, so 3-0 domination, and his goal was pretty nice. It was it had a set piece on the left side of the 18-yard box, nice cross, nice delivery, and he was unmarked and just headed it home past the keeper. It was a nice, powerful header right in target, and yeah, I think that was his first goal of the season, I believe. So, great to add that to his repertoire of already very impressive defending for the year. And gosh, yeah, the Celtic fans love him over there. He's done tremendous. They're blowing everybody out of the water in terms of the league. They're going for the treble still to 2 other Scottish Cups that they're participating in. So by the time he leaves Celtic, he'll have quite the trophy cabinet, Austin. But all good stuff from CCV over the weekend.
Yeah, that was great to see. And again, he looks like the man that is he's just so full of confidence. I don't know how else to explain it. His teammates are all rallied around him. He looks so at home at Celtic, and
No, he really does.
yeah, not to say that maybe he should stay there long term, but I just think it's really good to finally see him find that place, right, Pat? That's what we talked about for years now. After all his loan moves, is finding that place where he can make home and really carve out a spot for himself, show people what he can do, and that's what he's doing now, and it's really great to see.
Yeah, I think we know he's a very good ball playing center back, right? Maybe he's not the most physical in terms of winning aerial duels, typically being a little bit on the smaller side. And then also, maybe not having the pace or speed, right, of other top center backs. If you're comparing, right, if he's, we're saying he's the best defender in Scotland, but he has improved on a lot of that in terms of his positional play on where he can kind of snuff out and burn out counters. Even in this game, he had 100% of the duels won, so he was able to sniff out a lot of damage in the air and in the ground, positioning himself in better areas, right? And then the highest percentage of challenges won too. So those are some statistics that he really ranks well in. And then even from the season, I'm reading. It was an interesting actually It was a Celtic like fan account, but they go through all the statistics of the season players, and they highlighted CCV. He did rank lower in terms of pressures, right? Being pressed. He's having a lot of time with the ball, so if he is going to make that next step, Premier League's clubs are calling. Can he handle that high press, right? Maybe not being on a Celtic where you're dominating the ball in possession, because he's really improved on that side of the game. Those long balls, winning the challenges, positioning right in this league. But the Prem's fast. It is physical. It is fast paced. You have your lower teams with Palace, with Wilfred Zaha charging at you, to again some of the Leeds boys, right, who are struggling, and even Southampton who have quality players to the top. I mean, week in and week out, how are you going to handle complete high presses? From your Arsenals or even Liverpool's or Chelsea's now, so that's something I hope he can improve on, and we can only really see it if he makes that jump.
Yeah, and I think I would love to see him make that jump. I don't know exactly what team would be a good fit right now, but I think kind of like Haji, right? He's really shown that he belongs at his club, that he's one of the best players there, and I think he shouldn't necessarily cap his ceiling there. I think he should.
And I don't want to compare Austin, but I like these models of Haji and CCV up to where Dest has kind of pushed to Milan, right? I think Dest maybe not to this extent, but I like this model for some of our players too. Maybe they're lost and having to find themselves, and they find a home, a decent club, right? And just get the playing time, get the confidence, and then go up. I think Haji and CCV, who we've talked about so far, really, really positives to a dark 2023.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I think, we could even segue into our next player for today, who's also found a home, right? And that's Balogun.
Yeah.
I think, somewhat similar, right? He was a player that this summer had a lot of different loan opportunities presented to him. It sounded like, again, Rem really just put together a good plan for him, and he bought into kind of that plan, and they bought into him too, right? And made him kind of their main striker for the season. So I mean, where to begin with Folarin? So I guess I'll just start with the game over the weekend. So Rem went up against Monaco, and obviously Monaco, they're not as good as they once were, right? They have kind of fallen off a little bit, but this year they're sitting fourth in Ligue 1. So this was a big game for Rem, right? They haven't. I saw a stat, and I kind of wanted to confirm it before we started filming, but it sounds like they haven't lost a game, at least in the league, since September. Someone said. So I wanted to
really
that real quick.
Some draws and wins in there. That'd be
interesting crazy. To hear about. Yeah, actually, Monaco was the last team they lost to, September 18th, 3-0. Since then, they've either won or drawn all of their games. So definitely quite impressive from Rem here. And that whole trend continued over the weekend. So Folarin actually scored the lone goal in this game. Rem ended up winning 1-0. And that brought Balogun's goal tally to 16 on the season. He's not in first place anymore in the Golden Boot race. I think he's fallen down now to third or fourth, but all good, right? For, a 19-year-old player, 21-year-old player, my mistake, on loan from Arsenal. The goal he had in this game too was not an easy goal either, right? Came off a counter, not the best shot, but was able to get it by the goalkeeper there.
If you put the ball in the net, it's all that matters, right?
Exactly, right? At the end of the day, that's how they score goals. So, I think, again, you've seen him grow so much this year, and it really comes from him finding that place where he feels comfortable, and a coach giving him a chance, right? You hear a lot about Will Still and all the fines he's costing, Rem there.
Hilarious situation. I feel like I need to read a little bit more into that. So he's just getting fined because he doesn't have a license, right? Is that
pretty much license? Yeah, they believe in his philosophy and the structure he's able to impart on his teams, and they ended up hiring him without his license, and now they're paying.
Somebody get that guy on the GRE tracker version of a coaching license.
Right? Yeah, I'll have to fast track it this summer because sounds like a lot of teams will probably be interested in him, even with that whole penalty, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, and honestly, again, we've talked about the assets that Falarin brings to the team, right? He's good at a little bit of everything, right? He's a good poacher. He makes good runs. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet, even, right? We've seen him even pushed out to the wing at times this season there in France. So yeah, I thought it was just really positive to see his progression this season. Again, it hasn't been stretches of goal scoring too. He's been pretty consistent throughout the entire season. And I think that's so tough to do in a new league, different league. And he even had an interview this week. I don't have any quotes pulled from it, but I highly encourage people to go check it out. If you just search his name on Twitter, it'll come up. I think it's like a 2 to 4 minute interview that he did in English, which is great. Obviously, it's his first language, but yeah, it was great for the club to put it out as well, and get a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what his life has been this year in France. So yeah, that's kind of it, Pat. I mean, it seems like we talk about him, scoring goals every weekend. So
Yeah.
just bring it up, while we're filming.
What do you think about was there a cryptic Ted Lasso reference, right? Believe it. He tweeted, with some celebrations and things. People taking it too far, of course, on social media, right? But gosh, we got to get all the rumors, all the recruitment behind the scenes. I think Ken mentioned it here too. And Brandon, welcome guys. Thanks for joining the stream. But Musa friendship needs cultivating. Completely agree. Gosh, we need all our we need Timo, right? Timo over there in Ligoon to hook up with Flo and pitch him on the USMNT. But
yeah,
I don't know, it's still really tough competition, Austin, and hopefully we can hear some news sooner than later.
Yeah, well, apparently he unfollowed the English national team. That's what at least was reported this week. I didn't do my
I saw that
and find out, and he's following the USMNT. So hey, I don't know if that tells you anything, but it tells me all I need to know.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah, right. I also had one stat too that I thought was pretty cool, and I'm curious who this other player is. But with his goal this weekend, again, he's 21 years, 252 days old. He's become the youngest player to score at least 16 goals in Ligue 1 in his first season since 1960/61. So that's really crazy. That's an amazing stat. That's something that, again, confirms that this is, the season he's having is rare, right? It's not like this for players to go to, a top 5 league on loan and do as well as he's doing. So again, it just reaffirms his talent and again, the type of player that we're looking to bring into our program, even though, again, it is in disarray right now. So just hope we can find a way to convince him.
Come on, guys, keep spamming them, give them the hashtags, right? We need to pull out all of our best recruiting pitches. I mean, that's all we can do, right?
That's right.
and leave it to the YAAs, the Americans abroad on the ground.
Yeah, get them in that group chat. Come on, guys.
But I guess we should move on to Luca De La Torre, Austin. So I think just worthy of talking, about in this portion of the episode, because he's been on a streak of starts and solid performances, right? Maybe it's not the lights out, all these goals and assists, but somebody coming in, getting barely any time, just sitting on the bench, to the slow progression he's had, slow and steady progression over the course of the season, has been pretty tremendous, right? And this weekend, no different. Starting, played 71 minutes in a 3-0 win over Rayo Vallecano. So that, I think, brings them up to mid-table, about 11th or 12th, but the spaces 4 to 5 positions in are all within 3 or 4 points. So they're not very far off from kind of being borderline conference league spot, but also even if they finish that mid-table, that's much better from where they started, being towards that Valencia relegation zone area. So in this game, right, Austin, Luca, 100% of the dribbles completed, 2 interceptions, 3 of 3 tackles, were the match highest, as well as 5 duels won and 4 ball recoveries. The reason why I mentioned those stats, that's something I think 11 Yanks had a tweet out, and something that I've been thinking about is how would he do in terms of the physicality? That's an area maybe that he's not as great in, kind of being pushed off the ball, or maybe not known for more of those ball progressive passes, getting involved in the offense, but what can he do in terms of the dirty work, right? And winning the ball back. And he's really proved over the last 7, 8 games where he's gotten starts, pushed his way into the lineup. And this game, again, was no different, where he was winning all the duels, the 50-50 challenges. There was one in particular, I think Palazzo got around him in the 18-yard box, and Luka
Mhm.
made a very daring and a nice slide, but perfectly clean tackle out for a corner, but that saved from a potentially, uh, goal scoring opportunity. Excuse me. So, just a quick highlight. Obviously, he did great things on the ball. Still want to see a little bit more in terms of the stat lines, in terms of assists and goals, or clear chances for shots. But the defensive side has been a fantastic improvement so far in the last 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, I think that's been the thing that's really impressed me the most is yeah, just more of his consistency, right? We've seen it in possession, and he's a really good player with the ball at his feet, right? We know him to have that quality, but yeah, definitely was lacking defensively, and that's an area of his game that he needs to work on. We've seen some progression in that. Yeah, obviously too, just getting consistent minutes. He's been in the starting lineup now for about a month and a half, right? He's really made his spot his own. And yeah, I think that's a real testament because coming into the season, right? I think he was kind of purchased with, that slant of, again, we're buying an American player, hoping to gain a little bit more of an audience from Celta Vigo's point of view. And also he was bought for what I think was like $3 million. So
Yeah,
it's hard to really
bargain, man, bargain.
yeah, it was hard to really gain a reading on how they valued him at the club and what they thought his progression was going to be with them. So, yeah, I think both of those things really are just signs of improvement, right? And kind of like Ken P says here. Thanks for joining again, Ken. LDT/Geo midfield combo would be nice to see in Nations League. Yeah, I mean, if Geo's called up for these games coming up, I think that would be a really cool lineup to see, especially in possession. And yeah, I think something we need to think about too, right? He says, sitting in front of Tyler Adams. I think, yeah, that would be a really, really fun midfield trio to kind of run out in a game where we know we're going to dominate possession. We know we're going to be in the driver's seat. I feel like those two players specifically working together would be really cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because you would say Luka's fairly underrated still, and maybe again the high ceiling. But in terms of, you look at our pool, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, he's had a very slow, steady grind,
Yeah.
and I think that's fascinating, right? Because you heard of all the I think MLS Buzz too. I was really scrolling through social media today, but he put out an interesting tweet and a perspective where he said normalizing taking that step back, from the Fulham failure to Heracles and then going up. Again, similar kind of theme of today's episode, but he was really struggling, right? Fulham, we didn't know what was happening or going on in Heracles, a disaster of a team to be transparent.
Yeah.
He played fairly well in the Eredivisie, and then you thought, oh, maybe he'll be spot minutes. He won't start in La Liga. That's too much of a jump, and he's proving us wrong time and time again. So I've been very impressed, and maybe he isn't that, Atletico Madrid level player, right? But who's to say he can't keep climbing?
Yeah, and I think again when you looked at, I'm going to pitch it back to like the national team perspective, right? When our national team was at its peak, in my opinion, around 2009, 2012, somewhere in that range, it survived, and the success we had was because of the amount of players we had playing at quality clubs, right? And they weren't necessarily the highest clubs in the world, but they were clubs in some of the top 5 leagues, right? You talked about Alejandro Bedoya, even playing at Nantes, right, a little bit
Yeah,
later
that's right.
on,
He stint there.
being a crucial player for us. And at the time, we kind of brushed it off and didn't really think about it. But I think a lot of our success from a national team perspective at that, in those moments, in those years at that time, was because we had players trying themselves in difficult situations, right, and difficult team environments, and always constantly trying to better themselves, right. And that's been the current consistent trend with Luka, and again with some of these players we've talked about today, is they're constantly trying to improve, constantly trying to put themselves in these difficult environments. And I think it's gonna reap benefits for us on the national team and also for them in their club careers. So
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. But all the best for Luca. But Austin, I think unless we have anything else, guys, other player performances, we have our last segment here, quick kicks, which we can certainly dive into. I know we had a few other key points, but Austin, anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I know we talked about the whole Rana Berhalter drama to start, so it looks like we didn't have too many people in the room then.
Yeah.
Guys can go back and watch that. We don't want to probably dwell on that.
Yeah, but again, Brandon, Ken, thanks for joining, and guys too. After not to harp too much on it, but a lot of news just came out. If you hadn't had a chance, check out some of the reports. Check out social media and Twitter. Some key highlights, at least from that full investigation with the Reynas and Berhalter. I'm sure even more is going to come out, even more reactions over the course of the next few days and a week. So I'll be curious to hear other people's perspectives, or maybe even the families or Reynas come out themselves tomorrow with a bombshell statement. So who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Oh man! But
I guess head over in a quick kick spot.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
Who do you got today?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with Jordi Mihalovic. I think that's a good player to start with, right? Because he is back from injury from AZ, and he played the last 25 minutes, a 1-0 win over Pepe's team there. So yeah, it was tough for Ricardo. But
for their team, they didn't really see too much of
tough for the team. I guess Ricardo's going to leave regardless. So. But Jordi actually looked pretty lively. He had a few opportunities, created chances there. I think one of his teammates had one with the keeper that he missed. But he's taken to life very well. As that, he just needs to stay healthy. I think he's had a few injuries, before coming, and then also just now. So shout out to him being back, and maybe we'll see him in the March games here at the end of the month.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I think overall the move's gone pretty well, right? He's gotten some playing time. I know he was injured for a period of time, so you can only do so much there, but I think his playing time will come, and I think this is a great team for him. Great next step. So yeah, love it.
Yeah, love it. And the last one, Austin, my guy, Yunus Musa, who I would say is back from the perils of the bench. It was a quick stint there, but he was able to start this game in a crucial 1-0 win. I think they're out of the relegation zone for now. So knock on wood, everybody. We don't want any more Americans being relegated against Osasuna. So big win there over Osasuna for Valencia. And Musa had, I think, a 7 or 7.2 foot mob rating. He had a little bit more accuracy in terms of his passes. Looked like he was more interested and concentrated in the game. I think that's been a fault of his, being more complacent and not taking chances, and also just kind of playing more, just too relaxed in a way. So hopefully that was a reality check for him. And I don't know. I don't see him being at Valencia much longer. This might be the reason for his disinterest, and maybe there's a move already on the horizon.
Yeah, it's curious. You haven't really heard any rumors, but if they go down, I can't imagine he stays. And again, this was a big win for him. Osasuna is 8th in La Liga right now. Could have been higher going into the weekend. This puts Valencia right at 17th on goal differential. So hoping for a good end to the season, but definitely hoping Yunus kind of moves on and goes somewhere else at the end of the season. I have one quick kick for today, only one, and it's Kevin Paredes.
Yeah.
And got a really crucial assist, in Wolfsburg's 1-1 draw this weekend. And came on kind of late in the match. Again, provided that assist. I think, again, just showed his, his benefit, right, to Wolfsburg and why he should get more minutes. He now has on the season, which is really cool to see. 1 goal and 2 assists. In 15 matches. Again, I think all of his matches have come in reserve roles. He still hasn't started a game in the Bundesliga. So hoping that, that changes here in the next few weeks or so. Wolfsburg right now sit in 8th in the Bundesliga. So they have some work to do, but again, they're in a good spot this season. They've kind of bounced around back and forth, good and bad. So I feel like they're pretty happy with where they're at right now. Their team's pretty deep too. So I think it's worth noting, and this is, I guess, my one main point is that, again, even though he's only getting bench minutes right now and some minutes here and there. I really think it's just positive that he's getting minutes in general, right? He's still a very young player.
Right. They still see his value.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Because we saw with Giannis, right? They were very selective in who they gave minutes to in terms of younger players. So still only 19. His birthday is actually in May of this year, so has plenty of time. Very versatile player. I really am excited for his future. I think he's someone that should play a role here in this next cycle, and even as early as this year. I think he should get called up at some point.
Completely agree, man. And I think maybe next year in terms of club breakout, I'm calling it breakout season next year.
All right. Yeah, we're due for some players to kind of break out in Germany again, right? Things have kind of
up. Food Americans, come on.
Yeah, Paxton and Caden, we're still waiting for their Bundesliga debuts. Hopefully that happens here at some point. But I think that's all for Quick Kicks today on our episode. So thank you guys so much for joining. Again, we started right around 9:00 tonight. We had some good conversation about the whole Rana Berhalter drama. So make sure you like this video, watch it back, see what we have to say, and make sure you comment in the or comment below, right? Comment in the comment section.
Right. Whatever it's called. And guys, Instagram, Twitter, always putting out content for you all. And like Austin said, I think having these live streams, right, getting them out a little bit quicker for you all to engage as well, might be a potential model where we're working with moving forward. So, of course, that will give us more opportunities to put other content out, maybe future mock draft lists or top 10 or just, Americans to keep your eyes on in different leagues. We'll do some other fun videos. And Ken, and Brandon, appreciate you guys joining.
Thanks,
so
guys.
Be on the lookout for those. We got the live streams. We got maybe some other additional content coming out. But we appreciate all the support.
Yeah. So, I think Pat got to sign off, right? Only one thing left to say, and that is, guys, one day we will win it. Trust me, guys, we will win the World Cup.